What's up, sports fans? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel, and it's time for my reaction to the first college football playoff top 25 rankings for week number 10 of the 2023 college football season. The 2023 college football playoff top 25 rankings, the first official rankings, have now been released and revealed. They just came out a few minutes ago, and I'm going to give you my reaction to these playoff rankings. Did the committee get it right? Did the committee get it wrong? Well, there are a few things that the committee did get right, and there are also a few things that the committee did get wrong, but I'm going to give you my honest thoughts about these top 25 rankings, so we'll see what happens here once I go through these rankings. And I'm going to do something a little bit different here to my rankings this year. To my reactions, I'm going to pretty much, start from the top teams and work our way down to the bottom teams, just to give a quick reaction to the top teams, and then, of course, to the bottom teams. So let's get started here with the top teams here, the top 5, and we'll start here with number 1. It's Ohio State here at number 1. A lot of people predicted Ohio State to be number 1. I did the exact same thing. I did put out like a voting poll yesterday of who would be number 1. A lot of people said Georgia, but Ohio State, let's be honest, they have a really good resume. They have 2 top 25 wins, 2 quality wins against Notre Dame, and then Penn State if you count them as a top 10 team. So Ohio State definitely deserves to be at number 1, even though they haven't looked dominant this year, but that defense has been very dominant for them. Georgia at number 2 here. I don't think Georgia should be at number 2, to be honest, because they have only had, a couple of dominant wins this year, against a couple of, good 5-3 teams, Kentucky and Florida. That's all the wins that they have, pretty much in the dominant wins. But I think Georgia pretty much, they are just, the committee is probably, ranking them just because they are, the back-to-back national champions. But other than that, Georgia is at number 2. I just don't really agree with it here. Michigan at number 3. I know Michigan's been pretty dominant this year, but I don't think they deserve to be here at number 3 either. And then Florida State here at number 4. And then Washington comes here at number 5. So there are a few things that I do disagree with here in the top 5. Like, for example, Georgia and Michigan are ahead of Florida State. When Florida State has like a top 25 win over LSU, that just does not make any sense. Georgia and Michigan have both had, easy schedules this year. Michigan really hasn't had like a tough game, this year. I mean, obviously their offense had a really slow start to the season, but in the second half of the year, they've been pretty dominant. So I guess the committee is kind of, ranking them at number 3 for those dominant wins. But again, I think it just comes down to resumes here if I was going to rank these teams. Florida State has a better resume than Georgia and Michigan. You look at Florida State, they have that win over LSU. That's a big win there for them. LSU is now turning out to be a really good team, and I just don't understand why the committee is giving Florida State a really big chance here. I think Florida State should be a little bit ranked higher. I know they, have a win over Duke, but that's not like a big resume win now. Duke is not in the top 25 here in these playoff rankings, so that win doesn't really matter now. But again, Florida State and Ohio State both have, the best resumes out of all these playoff teams that you're going to see here in the rankings. And then Washington here at number 5. They have been very inconsistent now in the last couple weeks, but I guess the committee gave them some credit for that win over Oregon. I am fine with Washington here at number 5, but I think the rankings for the top 5 should be Ohio State, like I said, at number 1. Florida State should be at number 2, and then Georgia and Michigan, kind of hard to tell where they're going to be ranked at. I think Michigan probably would be at number, 3 perhaps because they have the dominant win. The dominant wins this year. Georgia doesn't have like a lot of dominant wins, only a couple wins. So these are the rankings here from 1 through 5. These are the top 5 teams. And again, I felt very confident that Ohio State was going to be number 1. That's exactly what we got. And then obviously I just don't agree with Michigan and Georgia being ahead of Florida State just because they don't have like a good resume. Now they'll have a chance to have really good resumes coming up in the next few weeks. Georgia has Ole Miss on the schedule coming up, Missouri coming up this weekend, and then also Tennessee coming up as well. So Georgia may have like 3 top 25 wins at the end of the year, but these are the top 5 teams. Let's now go to 6 through 10. So a couple of things that I do disagree here with. Let's go through the teams here. We got Oregon at number 6, Texas at number 7, Alabama at number 8, and then Oklahoma at number 9, and then Ole Miss at number 10. I'm fine where Ole Miss is at number 10. I think that's a very comfortable spot, for them. They have that one loss to Alabama by 14 points. Oregon at number 6. I do feel very comfortable with them being at number 6. Texas being at number 7, and then Alabama here at number 8, and then Oklahoma here at number 9. What I don't agree with here is that Oklahoma is behind Texas. I just don't agree with that because Oklahoma has the head-to-head win over Texas. I think the playoff committee should look at head-to-heads even more. I mean, they said they do, but I just don't agree with, Texas being ahead of Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma should be at number 7. I don't think they should be penalized after that loss to Kansas. I mean, they didn't really lose that bad. They just played, not really their best game, but that is a big miss there for the committee. I think, like I said, Oklahoma should be ranked number 7. Texas should be number 8, and then, of course, Alabama at number 9. I mean, obviously, Alabama has a good resume, both, with Oklahoma and everything. Alabama has, wins over, Tennessee and everything, and, also, Ole Miss. But again, I just don't agree with Oklahoma being behind Texas. I mean, the playoff committee did say that they would look at head-to-head matchups. But again, why is Texas ahead of Oklahoma if they really matter for head-to-heads? I mean, Oklahoma should be ahead because they have the head-to-head win over Texas. I mean, that just does not make any sense. I mean, I think a lot of people would agree with this perhaps. Both teams have even 7-1 records. Maybe Texas has a better resume. Obviously, they have that win over Alabama and then a top 25 win over Kansas, so maybe they give them credit for that. But, I think it really comes down to head-to-heads for me. Oklahoma should be ranked ahead of Texas. So, again, I just don't really agree with Oklahoma being here ahead of Texas, but I am comfortable where where Ole Miss is and then Oregon is. Oregon definitely deserves to be at number 6. Even though Oregon has looked good in the last couple weeks, they've been better than Washington. But I think Oregon definitely deserves to be here because you can't put Oregon ahead of Washington anyway because of the head-to-head matchup. And then again, I'm very fine where Ole Miss is. So these are the rankings here from 6 through 10. But again, I just don't agree with Oklahoma here being ahead of Texas because they do have the head-to-head win. So again, a little bit of a disagreement here from 6 through 10. All right, 11 through 15, this is where the rankings start to get a little bit misunderstanding. Penn State here at number 11, I'm fine where they're at. But what I'm not really fine with is that Missouri ahead of LSU. Missouri here at number 12, Louisville at number 13, LSU at number 14, and then Notre Dame here at number 15. I meant to put Notre Dame's record at 7-2. That's just a little bit of a mess up there. But Louisville has the head-to-head win over Notre Dame. That's the good news. They put Louisville ahead of Notre Dame because of that head-to-head win. But why is Missouri ahead of LSU? That just does not make any sense. Missouri only has one quality win in the top 25, and that is, of course, to Kansas State, which they are ranked. You'll see them in just a second. But again, I don't agree with Missouri here being ahead of LSU, even though they have the better record than LSU. Missouri doesn't really have a big resume than LSU does. I mean, obviously LSU should be ahead of Missouri here because of the head-to-head matchup. And that, goes back to the 6 through 10 range. Like I said, Oklahoma should be ahead of Texas because of the head-to-head win. But LSU is behind Missouri. That just does not make any sense whatsoever. I mean, LSU does have a loss to Florida State, but again, that loss doesn't really, bother them too much. But again, LSU should be ahead of Missouri here. I think Missouri should be at least at number 14, and then LSU should be at number 12. I don't know if they have a better resume than Louisville. I think Louisville probably should be at number 12 because they have the win over Notre Dame. That's a big win for them. But again, LSU, I just don't agree with them being here at number 14. That is really crazy to me that the committee would not put LSU ahead of Missouri. And again, Missouri should be at number 14. Notre Dame doesn't have a quality win. But, the committee has given them some credit, for competing in those games with Ohio State. And then, of course, Louisville. The Louisville game wasn't really that close, but at least the committee put Louisville ahead of Notre Dame. But, I don't know why the committee did not put LSU ahead of Missouri. That just does not make any sense. But, again, I'm very fine where Penn State is. But, again, Missouri should not be here at number 12. Louisville should be there at number 12 perhaps because they have the better resume than LSU does. LSU should be at number 13. Missouri should be at number 14. And then Notre Dame, I'm fine where they're at. I mean, obviously, I think they don't have a good quality win. I mean, they do have some good losses to Ohio State, and everything, and then also Louisville. So again, I just don't agree with, Missouri being ahead of LSU. It kind of is the rankings from 6 through 10. But again, I just don't agree with Missouri being here ahead of LSU because LSU beat them in the regular season matchup. That just does not make any sense. But these are the rankings here from 11 through 15. All right, 16 through 20, there's a lot of disagreements on this one. Oregon State here at number 16, Tennessee at number 17, Utah at number 18, UCLA at number 19, and then USC here at number 20. Oregon State, I'm fine where they're at. I mean, I think they have a good enough resume to be here at number 16, but their losses are to some bad, not bad teams, but, they're not really like ranked teams or anything like that. Arizona is a loss for them, and then, of course, the other game was to Washington State, which Washington State is not even ranked here in this top 25. But Oregon State has a couple of top 25 wins. They have a really good resume. They beat Utah and UCLA in both head-to-head matchups. Tennessee, though, here at number 17. Why is Tennessee ranked here at number 17? That is a big question mark for me. I don't really understand why Tennessee is ranked here at number 17. Tennessee doesn't have like a really big quality win on their schedule. Maybe Texas A&M is their best quality win. Kentucky probably perhaps because they're a 5-3 team, but Tennessee here at number 17 just does not make any sense whatsoever. Again, Tennessee doesn't have a top 25 win. They lost to Alabama by 14 points. Maybe they give them some credit for competing at least in that game, but Tennessee did lose that game badly in the second half, and I think the committee should probably look a little bit more further into that game because that was not a really good second half performance by Tennessee. And then Utah and UCLA here are both at 18 and 19. I do agree here with Utah being, ahead of UCLA because of the head-to-head. But again, I think Utah should be ahead of Tennessee here in these rankings because they do have a couple of top 25 wins. They have wins over, of course, UCLA and Oregon State. I don't understand why Tennessee is ranked ahead of Utah here. That just does not make any sense. I think UCLA probably would be behind Tennessee perhaps because, or maybe they should be ahead of, maybe they should be ahead of Tennessee. I really don't know. UCLA might have like a top 25 win on their resume, but again, I just don't agree with this. Tennessee being here at number 17 ahead of a Utah team that has a really good quality win over USC, and then he also got, a really good resume better than Tennessee does. And then USC here at number 20. This is a team that has lost 2 games. They lost 2 games in a row. Yes, they bounced back, against Cal over the weekend, but USC does not have a quality win. Why are they in this top 25? I did not even rank them in my top 25 from yesterday just because they don't have like a good resume at all. You could probably say they competed against Utah in that game, but again, USC, they lost 2 straight games, to Notre Dame and then Utah there, last weekend, or I should say a couple weeks ago. Again, no resume win for this USC team. They don't have like a good resume win on their schedule. And USC hasn't really, played that really well this year. The defense has been very inconsistent. The offense, it's been really good, but, the defense has just not done their job. But again, I don't really agree here with USC and Tennessee here. Tennessee, I think, should be at least at number 19 or maybe just outside the top 20 because, again, they don't have like a good resume. I don't even have them ranked in my real top 25 because they don't have like just a good resume in order for me to put them in the top 25 for me. But again, I think the rankings here from 16 through 20, it should be Oregon State here. I do agree with Oregon State here being at number 16. Utah should be at number 17. Then UCLA should be at number 18. And I think Tennessee and USC here would be at number 19 and 20. But again, Tennessee and USC don't have really good resumes. So I don't know why the committee put Tennessee here at number 17 when they had a bad loss to Florida. And they also had, another loss to Alabama. So that just does not make any sense. So these are the rankings here from 16 through 20. Then we go to the bottom here from 21 through 25. So we got Air Force and Tulane here, 2 non-Power 5 teams. Tulane here all the way down at number 24. Tulane, I think that's a pretty good, reasonable spot for them. Air Force here at number 25 just because of their undefeated. I think Air Force is probably giving a little credit for that Wyoming win as well, but Tulane here at number 24. They were very competitive against Ole Miss. They continue to keep rolling. Tulane doesn't have like a good resume, but Tulane definitely deserves to be here in the playoff rankings. But what I don't agree with here for these 3 Big 12 teams, you got Kansas here at number 21, Oklahoma State at number 22, and then Kansas State here at number 23. Oklahoma State should be ahead of both Kansas and Kansas State. The reason why is because Oklahoma State has the head-to-head win over Kansas and Kansas State, so that just does not make any sense. All 3 of these teams in the Big 12 have identical 6-2 records. Yeah, I just don't understand that. Maybe the committee is giving Kansas a little bit of credit for that Oklahoma win, and that's the reason why they kept them ahead of Oklahoma State and Kansas State. But if you look back at the regular season, Oklahoma State has the head-to-head win over Kansas, and then also the head-to-head win over Kansas State. And Kansas State and Kansas have not played each other yet, so whoever wins that game is going to end up being ahead for me and everything. But again, I did rank Oklahoma State ahead of Kansas and both Kansas State just because of the head-to-head wins. That's the reason why, my top 25 keeps changing every week by week. But again, the playoff committee, I think just gives credit to Kansas here. Don't get me wrong, it's a really good win for Kansas, especially against a top 10 team like Oklahoma. But again, I don't really agree with this one. I don't really agree with Oklahoma State being behind Kansas, but they're at least ahead of Kansas State. That's a head-to-head win for them. But again, Oklahoma State has looked really good in the past few weeks. But again, I just don't really agree with Oklahoma State here being at number 22 behind Kansas. I think the rankings should be like this. Oklahoma State at number 21, Kansas at number 22, and then Kansas State at number 23, just because Kansas has the better resume than Kansas State does. And then Tulane, I'm fine where they're at number 24, and then Air Force, I'm fine where they're at. I mean, obviously Air Force doesn't have like a top 25 win, so they can't really move up into the top 20 anyway. But these are the rankings here from 21 through 25. So again, these are the first college football playoff rankings here for the college football season of 2023. What were your guys' thoughts on the first playoff rankings? Do you agree or disagree with these playoff rankings? And again, I don't really agree with some of these rankings, and obviously I don't agree with some teams that are ahead, and everything that even they don't have like a good resume just yet. But again, what are your guys' thoughts on these first playoff rankings? Let me know down in the comments below. Do you agree or disagree? Let me know down in the comments below, and stay tuned here for more sports content videos on my Lucas Ross Sports channel.